that it was right after the interception. That wasn't necessarily planned that way. That's just kind of when they came up. But that does indicate the amount of confidence we as a coaching staff and as a team have in him.
How'd the new coach to QB helmet receiver thing work? Are you a guy that likes to be in his ear up until like 15 seconds, or how did you play that, Dirk?
Well, I thought overall it went pretty smooth. There was a few hiccups with it, and I'm sure there will be as the season goes on every week. No, I am not a guy that likes to be in his ear. I think that's why you meet all week. We have hundreds of meetings and hours of meeting time with those guys. I think on Saturday you're trying to let them play, and you're just trying to give them the information they need, which is the play call and maybe what personnel are in the game for the defense, and then let them go.
Obviously, Oregon's going to be really loud, and we're already seeing every single game, and I think you referenced it last week, and it's more and more now, and Autzon's going to be crazy. So how much do you rely on that, or how much do you go back to old school with some silent stuff?
We have both. We have both ready to go, and I think you have to have, those headset things could go out at any minute. So you still have to have all your old school signals and all that stuff ready. You are seeing every quarterback really. It didn't matter how full the stadiums were, and that surprised me because you really don't see that much in the NFL. So that sort of surprised me. We are working on a couple things technology-wise. This is new, and our people that handle that are working on a couple other options that are over my head, but they're working on it.
Is it as simple as a volume button?
It's along those lines, yes. I mean, supposedly we were close to the max on that, but they're playing around with it. They're working on it.
With Ashton's day, it almost felt like Sire's game was, one of the more 100-yard under the radar performance debuts I've ever seen. Just how good can he be for you guys?
No, he's good. I mean, he's good for sure. And, we got another good one in Breezy sitting there too. Breezy missed a lot of time leading up to this game. So I think his usage will go up in the future as well. But, Ashton can only go so much, so you've got to have that next guy ready to go, and we're pretty deep at that position.
See Breezy at all this past weekend. Just how close is he to getting back on the field?
Yeah, he's real close. Yeah, he's real close.
Dirk, Nick Saban said on national television he tried to hire you multiple times as his OC and couldn't get it. When was the first time he approached you? Where were you in your career at that point?
Yeah, I think he was being kind of generous when he said that. I don't know where that came from, but that was. I don't know where all that came from, but I'll just leave that be. There wasn't too many times, but maybe there was at least one in there.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Situational football, it's talked about a lot here. Is it more willing to give a pass on situational football airs week one, referencing the roughing the passer? I mean, that flipped the game, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those deals we talk about in practice. It's, you stay away from the quarterback so much. You can't do it. They protect the quarterback probably more in the demeanor in which it happened than the timing. Just putting your head down, putting your shoulder down. Probably more the demeanor was the issue than the timing. But that's something you can't do. They protect these quarterbacks now. You're right. There was big momentum going one way and it swung at the other. So that's just a penalty we can't have. Didn't do it on purpose. We got to do a better job of covering those things that we cannot simulate in practice.
When you go, that was part of a stretch of 9 straight third downs that you let up. And, we were talking to Andrew after the game. He said, it was frustrating because you guys were getting in the right positions you needed to, but, just then one mistake after another would lead to a first down. How do you just fix that?
No, I think it's it's always good to fix things after a win, and there's a lot we have to fix. Early in the game, guys were lined up correctly, communicating correctly. Everything was being done at a very, very high level. And as we got tired, as the game went on, a few things didn't happen our way, just with some leverage, some communication pieces, some things that I could have definitely corrected. I don't want to get into because that's going to get game plan-ish for next week, but definitely things that I didn't do as far as following the game plan that I could have helped those kids with. But it's just executing at a high level. It's doing the simple things better than anybody else does. And part of those things is maybe we need to rotate guys a little bit better. Maybe we let them play too many reps down there in the heat. So a lot of things correctable from the coaching staff and the players. But like I said, it's been a while since we won game one, which is, that's a good thing to have. We got a victory, and now we can fix things while we got a victory, but that's not the standard anyone wants to play with. So there's some good, there's some bad. Let's get this thing fixed, and let's get it tightened up for next week.
You mentioned the good. I mean, you had 4 forced fumbles for the first time in like almost 20 years here. You had the 4 sacks. I mean, are there things you can point to that obviously you were pleased with?
Yeah, definitely. Anytime you get a lot of hits on the quarterback, that's what we like. The sacks, the good on the sacks. You got 4 sacks. Probably a 5th, we accepted the penalty. And then there was 2 or 3 left out there that we could have had. The forced fumbles, the ball searches were unbelievable. The kids were very ball aware. They did a great job with that. We need to get some of those footballs now. A couple of them bounced not the way we wanted them to. A couple of those we could have hustled to the ball a little quicker and probably got them. And then there was some balls out there that I thought could have been interceptions. So you're very close to those takeaways, which we've worked very hard on, but we all know close don't count in football. So now we're getting those balls out and getting our hands on some passes. We need to find a way to finish that deal.
A 4 fumble recovery just seems like a weird number. Like what's the what's average or what's standard in terms of when you force a fumble in terms of like one? I know you want to get them all back, but I mean
I don't know what the average is. If the ball's on the ground, it's our ball. So we've got to get those footballs. And probably a piece we've been drilling the forcing the fumbles like crazy. We've been drilling the tomahawk and the forcing of the fumbles and the tip balls. We probably need to drill recovering the football a little bit better.
If you kind of look at the last half of last season when it comes to Andrew Simpson, he was used like so much as a pass rusher, and he had a couple opportunities, but it didn't seem like at the volume maybe over the last half of last season. And then he makes the play that kind of helped turn the game back in your guys' favor. So without going too much into the depths of it, how much does he have to offer you, and that's as a pass rusher?
Oh, Andrew has a lot to offer as a pass rusher. He's a really good blitzer. He can do. He's very slippery. He can do a lot of great things in the pass rush. Some of the things that Georgia Southern did, they're a really good offensive football team. Their coaching staff did a really good job. So we needed to free up an extra player on some of those perimeter screens and those kind of things. So that kept him out of it a little bit. But he offers a ton as a pass rusher. And like you guys saw, a couple opportunities he got in there, he made the most of them.
How big was that last one, where he was able to force that fumble?
I think that's huge. Anytime you can, number one, pressure a quarterback into making a bad throw, pressure a quarterback and get a hit on a quarterback, and then, he got the trifecta. He pressured it, he got the sack, and he got the strip. We just need to clean that ball up and get that thing going the other way.
There was a point this weekend, Georgia Southern has all the momentum. It's 28-9 and it's 30-28. What can you do as a coach to switch that momentum back to you guys and make a stop?
Yeah, I think, and that's what I'm talking about. There was a few things within the game plan that it was going so well in our favor, like you had just mentioned, and it's happened to me before where we've followed it to a T, and we've screwed the guys up a little bit because they were playing the other stuff so well. Probably should have gotten to another mode a little earlier, which once again I don't want to really discuss because that's going to get into game plan stuff for next week. But I could have done a better job of getting those guys into a little better mode earlier. And then, like you said, like the momentum, just like Jay just talked about, that momentum. Like our offense was playing at an extremely high level. Like we needed to get them the ball back. Period.
Gabriel had close to 50 passes this week against Idaho. What do you guys have to do to just really be aware of all times of what he's going to do?
Yeah, I think everybody's pretty aware of what he can do. And not only that, but he's put on film that he can do it as a runner as well. So truly a dual threat quarterback. You're going to have a lot of different mechanisms to get him confused because he's seen a lot of football. But once again, pressure and confusing those quarterbacks, even if you can delay them for a split second, I feel like they have a really good offensive line. We have a really good pass rush, so that should be a good battle up front. But we have to have ways to get some pressure on him and confuse him in the coverage a little bit.
How's it different going up against a guy like him because he's obviously immensely talented, but he's also been playing college football like almost a third of what you've been coaching college football. I mean, he's been in this league forever, right? So like, how is it different going up against this guy with so much freaking experience?
Yeah, it's almost like you're playing, and I'm not saying he's good enough to go play in the NFL right now. He definitely will be someday, but it's like you're playing an NFL quarterback. Like, he's been around a lot of football, and he's been with some different teams and been in different systems and been coached by a lot of great quarterback coaches / offensive coordinators. So he's got a lot of experience, different reads, different ways he can pick apart the defense. It's just like playing one of those experienced guys. And shoot, I recruited Dylan Gabriel in high school. I remember him when he was running around as a young guy, and he's a fantastic young man, and he's a really good football player.
Do you guys still, I don't know, when was the last time you guys talked, I guess, or anything like that? I suppose?
Last time I saw him, spring recruiting in Hawaii, him, Mackenzie Milton, and Vi Malapai all came, and we had a little lunch together before I knew he was going to transfer to Oregon, and we were going to have to play him. So.
Coach, you're talking about the pass rush, but how do you think the interior of the D-line did during against Georgia Southern?
Yeah, I think pretty good. Braxton had a few pressures and a few hits. Michael Madre got in the end of the game and hit the quarterback a little bit. We kind of knew going into that thing, that interior pass rush, like we were going to have to make some space for the edge guys, and like the Andrew Simpson pressure sack that he got, we were going to have to occupy some of the guys inside and let those edge guys get free a little bit. So I think they did their job. I'd like to see a little bit more production out of them, but I think that they did what they were instructed to do.
Why is
The middle eight or whatever it used to be called around here, like the late in the first half, start of the third quarter. How big is that? I mean, when they come down and score in the last minute and then get the ball and come down and score again, that's obviously a huge swing in the game.
Yeah, that's, to be quite honest with you, you lose football games that way. When you, at the end of the first, the beginning of the second, like you can survive one bad one, especially if you can survive if they go down and score and then your offense gets the ball and they go down and score at the beginning of the half, like that's survivable. When you give up two like that, it's hard to win football games. Thankfully, we did enough late on defense, and our offense did a ton throughout the entire game where it didn't cause something dramatic. But
the offense runs 4 plays and goes for it and doesn't get it, and the next thing you know, you're trailing all of a sudden. I mean, how quickly did it seem like things were flipping there?
yeah, it seemed like it happened pretty fast. But that's one other thing we've just got to get fixed a little bit on our side of the football. Bad field position is going to happen, especially the new day and age of analytics. There's a lot more people going for it on fourth down. There's really great punters, so the field gets flipped. Things can happen, turnovers, anything can happen. As a defender, you got to have a different swag about you when that ball gets put in the minus. When we're in not favorable field position, like it's time to stand up and know we got to go. So that's one thing. We just got to improve the urgency when we get put in an undesirable situation.
On this side of the podium, we're obviously obsessed with stats, and Ahmed had no sacks and just a couple of tackles. But from your perspective, how did he grade out?
Ahmed played really well. Pursued to the football, made some unbelievable chase tackles on some of those perimeter screens. And I don't know if it goes in a stat or not, but he got some really, really hard hits on the quarterback that, those, you keep getting hits on the quarterback and that affects him throughout the game. So I thought Ahmed played a really solid football game. He did not get a sack, but you're not always going to get a sack every single game, but he played really hard and he did his job.
How'd the corners grade out? Good, bad? What'd you see there, Coach?
Yeah, there's some good and there's some bad. The thing that we can always build on, they played good tight coverage against some fast receivers. We got to finish at the ball better. We all know that. Got to tackle a little better. But I think that they can cover. Like, they can cover people. We just got to get them to use technique all the time and finish on those routes. But they're good players and they will cover people. So, and we saw on there, the ones that don't get put on television, some people don't watch, are the PBUs that get broke up. So we've seen what they can do. There's other ones that go on TV or you guys are watching where it didn't go our way, where it was a catch, a 50-50 ball. Those are the ones where, like, this is you, this is not you. So you just got to be you all the time. But they've shown on film that they can do it.
That Marco obviously is so good at getting people lined up, and he's always in the right spot. I know things vary off matchup, but he was on the field for about a third of those 90 plays, right? So how does he factor in, moving forward, I guess?
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those deals where if we're playing a team that, they have a lot of speed, we're going to have to match the speed. Marco probably needs to, play a little bit more. But to keep Andrew fresh and Marco fresh, those guys are going to have to rotate quite a bit. So finding a way to get him a few more reps is something that we're talking about currently.
Oregon didn't have the game they might have expected against Idaho, which fair play to Idaho. But are you expecting a reaction out of them? And do you have to prepare for an early reaction, or is there anything specific you do going into this next game?
Yeah, we have to get better. The Boise State Broncos need to get better at what we do. Idaho did a freaking great job. They played a really good football game the other week. Oregon's got a lot of stuff on film from the last year. They have a lot of stuff that they didn't do in that game that they haven't done but there's a lot of stuff to get ready for. So we got to get better at what we do. We've got to get ready for the formations, the shifts, the movers, the different plays. But this is not about them. This is about us, and this is about how big of a leap can we make from week 1 to week 2, because that's what good football teams do. They improve a ton from week 1 to week 2.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.